Join us today for an action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball, where we talk about the third base position heading into 2024.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ane, and you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ane. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It subscribes to the channel and also gives you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And guys, real quick, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started today. And all right, guys, let's get right into this. We're talking about, we're doing a little bit of a review / preview for each position, and we're talking third base today. Real quick, before I pass it off to my brother Matt to talk about somebody that he loves. Third base finished like this last year in your categories leagues, 5x5. Bobby Witt, number 1, Austin Riley, number 2, Yandy Diaz, number 3, Rafael Devers, number 4, Jose Ramirez, number 5, Alex Bregman, number 6, Gunnar Henderson, number 7, Justin Turner, number 8, Max Muncy, 9, Spencer Steer, number 10. A lot of guys missing, a lot of interesting names there. Matt, thoughts on the position as a whole, coming off of last year, heading into next year, and then who do we want to pinpoint first?
Well, for starters, it's nice to see that the third base isn't as atrocious as we were thinking going into the year as to how it finished, meaning there was a lot more options that actually, stepped up to the plate. They were able to, pick up off the waiver wire and really make an impact on your team to help you push you over the goal line of getting the championship, because coming in, it didn't look great. And, if you didn't get a top guy, you felt at least that they were good, and then a couple guys flopped, and then it was just, hey, look at these new guys here, specifically Steer and the first guy I'm going to talk about as well, where they were real true bright spots that I think their next year is going to be really nice. And third base as a whole is the first time I'm not vomiting every time I look at everybody past the fifth third baseman. So I like the position this year, and now I just have to poo-poo all over second base at some point, but it is what it is. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about our first guy here, and let's talk about my favorite third baseman. That's Royce Lewis. Lost the shortstop eligibility, unfortunately, but it is what it is. But Royce Lewis, my number 4 overall third baseman. Dom says I'm crazy because I have him over Elly.
Big talk.
It is big talk, but you know what? Honestly, like, we look at Royce Lewis as a whole, and you start looking at his injuries that he's had that has kept him off the field. Tore his ACL twice, even part of last year during a great season, had the hamstring issue, which kept him out for about a month. It's really rough. It's been tough sledding, but Royce Lewis, especially with everybody just being super impatient to get this kid going. But the funniest part is he's only 24. So we're all trying to rush this kid out the door and be like, hey, come up here. Like every, guy is going to be like Acuna, where they just come up and mash at 20 years old and just keep rolling. But some guys either have to deal with this kind of, malarkey, or, don't come up until about 25. So Royce Lewis, I feel, is going to finally put together a full season next year. And I feel the sky is the limit. I look at what he did in his short stint this year: 217 at bats, 36 runs, 7 doubles, 15 bombs, 52 ribs, 6 stolen bases, and walked 20 times to 55 strikeouts with a 309 batting average. You look at those numbers in that short stint, and you're like, well, 15 home runs in a quarter of a season, well, that's fun. You talk about what he's done in the minors, where he's had 22 stolen bases, he's had a 28 stolen base season, even an 18. He didn't even start running last year. If that starts coming into fruition next year, and you add in this power numbers, which I don't think this pace is realistic. I think it's more of like we're going to see 30 to 32 home runs from Royce Lewis, and a full 550, 600 at bat season from him. Along with the 20 to 25 upside and stolen bases with the batting average that is, been abundantly clear throughout his whole career. We only had one season where he batted under 280. Royce Lewis is just a serious force to be reckoned with on that team. And, they kind of proved they're taking a step forward as a team. So Royce Lewis should benefit from that, not only from his personal experience, from the players that are being added to that team and getting the call. Royce Lewis should be a fantastic pick next year.
Yeah, Matt. I'm not mad at the take at all, to be honest with you. I'm really not mad. I think you have him ranked at what his potential ceiling is the number 4 third baseman. ADP, or way too early ADP, has him at pick 42, 6th third baseman off the board. Once again, we've been using NFBC ADP, which has 42 drafts, as of this recording. The 6th third baseman, I have Royce Lewis as my 9th third baseman. I think, as you said, third base is getting a little bit deeper at the top. We have a lot of new young names. I mean, Royce Lewis' upside, I guess, is really what a potential first, second round pick if he goes, 90 plus runs with, 30 homers, 90 plus RBIs, could steal close to 30 bags. The batting average is legit. He's got a good hit tool, could hit in that, 280 to 290 range, but the guy's got to stay healthy, as Matt mentioned. Royce Lewis has been injury prone through his whole career so far. So we'll see where the thing goes with Royce Lewis. I mean, if you're picking him as, pick 42, you're talking about a 3rd, 4th round pick at that point in some leagues. It's going to be tough doing that and holding him all season if he gets hurt. But, hey, if everything looks right, if you get the 90th percentile outcome, you got yourself a guy that's going to be a potential, first rounder. It's just weird seeing Royce Lewis go this early in drafts after, all of these years of hype. He's finally starting to, live up to the hype. So I'm not mad at you guys if you want to go out there and get Royce Lewis on your fantasy teams this upcoming season. Let's talk about another guy. You want to talk about hype? Gunnar Henderson. Gunnar Henderson, started off last year a little bit rough, had a pretty strong second half. Young Gunnar is coming off the board very early as well. 5th third baseman off the board, pick 29. I have Gunnar as my number 6 third baseman. Now you want to talk about a guy that's in a great lineup, which we went from Royce Lewis, where that Twins lineup is a little bit mediocre. This Orioles lineup is going to be dominant, especially if they go out there and add another veteran bat to that lineup. Gunnar Henderson's upside, you want to talk about a guy that's got 35 home run potential. He had 100 runs last season, 82 RBIs. Talking about a guy 100 and 100 in the counting stats. The steals, the kid's got good speed on him too. You're talking about 20 plus steals. Batting average, that's where I want to see. I want to see where Gunnar Henderson's going to live in the big leagues. Is he a plus hit tool guy like we expect him to be, where he could hit 280, or is the 259, 255 batting average over his first 2 seasons in the pros a little bit more legit? I seem to lean towards the latter. The former of the two, where I think the batting average has more upside for Gunnar. So you're talking about a guy that could be 35 home runs. He could be very Juan Soto light type of player. So Gunnar Henderson, just another great young bat, and I really think he's somebody that's going to be a staple at the top of fantasy baseball just for years to come. Once again, Gunner's going to only be 23 years old.
I agree with everything you're saying. I mean, Gunner's going to be phenomenal next year. Year 2 can kind of pretty much take a lift off, and he's going to seriously benefit from that team as a whole growing and, probably, getting out of diapers and finally, putting on, pull-ups since they're so young as a team. It's kind of crazy, but them all taking a second year with also the possibility of adding Holiday to that lineup, Gunnar Henderson is going to benefit from that awesome lineup around him and, could seriously go to a whole nother level for third base and possibly finish as the number 1 third baseman. So I like Gunnar Henderson's upside. But before we move on and we talk about names like Elly De La Cruz, Austin Riley, Alex Bregman, and so much more, Dom has a sponsor we need to talk about.
And guys, we are talking about FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, which include spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season right. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL.
All right. So before we move on, and we start talking about these names, we also want to let you know about what Locked On's doing as a company, and they have gotten a 24/7 streaming sports channel, first ever to do it, of Locked On, with all your local and daily local podcast, and also your major networks such as MLB, NFL, us, fantasy football, basketball, and so on and so forth. So you can catch us all on there and all your favorite podcasts, your team every day. But everything after that, let's talk about another name that you guys probably all thought I was crazy and probably should have ranked over Royce Lewis, and that's Elly De La Cruz. Elly is fun. He's probably the sexiest name in terms of this position, and probably everybody chomping at the bits to draft him next year. But based on the last time I checked ADP, he was going in the second round. And,
And he
I
still
feel
is.
he still is. And you know what? I don't blame you if you do. The upside is there. I mean, the kid had a nice little, rumble and caused absolute havoc in his first month in the bigs. And plus, he has probably one of the highest exit velocities in all of baseball last year. Elly De La Cruz is a freaking unit at 6'5", 200 pounds. I would not want to be caught in an alleyway next to this dude. I'm gonna lose. Elly De La Cruz just had a monster little showing. But the problem is he did start, declining and not performing up to it. And I feel like he didn't figure out, and adjust the league adjusting to him yet. So for me to take him in the second round is just feeling like a little bit too high for me right now. And also too, I want to see him do it further past it. Whereas I wish he was going much lower in as a whole, just based off of that. And where I feel like at pick 40, for Royce Lewis, it's better. Just because I have a guy ranked at number 4, for instance, in my rankings, doesn't mean I'm drafting him as the third baseman off. I'm going to wait and kind of play the ADP game. Whereas, I have Elly De La Cruz right behind him, but I don't think I'm going to walk away with him in a single draft just based off of that second round draft price for that reason. But, Elly De La Cruz ceiling is obviously a second, possibly first round pick, but the floor is honestly what he did once the league figured him out. And, that could be your whole first half. And then he maybe figures it out in the second half, which obviously counts more, but you don't want that from a dude that you picked in the second round. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that the ADP kind of stops going superhuman, and pretty much my favorite way is pretty much took him off Super Saiyan and, went full Goku on it. And let's just calm down. Just bring it down and, bring it down to about a Krillin level and kind of just chill out. Yeah, I totally nerded out on my metaphors, but it's fine. But anyway, Elly De La Cruz going to be great next year. It's just a matter of, is he going to put it together for a full season, or will it take time?
Yeah, we're pretty much in agreement on everything with Elly here. I think we're talking about the main concern. It's really just batting average. The guy is superhuman fast and superhuman strong. So I mean, it's just, can he put together a season with a plus batting average? I don't know if this is going to be that year. The big thing is, through Elly's, his June was monstrous when he first came up. 21 games in June. He had 88 at-bats, 21 runs, 6 doubles, 2 triples, 3 homers, 12 RBIs, 9 steals, and a 307 batting average. Then after that, Elly did absolutely nothing. His last 68 games, it was 262 at-bats, 39 runs, 6 doubles, 5 triples, 9 homers, 28 RBIs, 19 steals, 191 batting average, and 27 walks to 105 strikeouts. Now, Elly In my opinion, I think we see a season like this from Elly next season. I think it's if we give him, let's say, 500 at bats, I honestly think it's, depending, hopefully, I think he's going to be hitting, in that lineup like second or third. A big run total. You're talking about like 100 plus runs. You're talking about a guy who I think honestly hits 35 home runs next year. The RBI should be solid too. I would say 90 RBIs. The steals, honestly, this is going to be a crazy number. I think Elly steals 70 bases next season. Is that crazy to say? I don't think
Yes.
so.
Yes, that's
I
crazy.
mean,
That's crazy.
still 35 in 98 games. He's right on that pace. I honestly think it's 60, 70 steals for Elly as long as he's healthy next season. And then the batting average is suspect. I honestly think it's a 245 batting average, 250 batting average from Elly. I think he's going to have a lot of ebbs and flows. I think he's going to come out of the gate. I don't even know. I don't even want to go out there and say how he's going to come out of the gate because he struggled to the finish line. I hope he's watching film. I hope he's figuring things out. I hope he's a student of the game. I don't know too much about the young Elly De La Cruz. Just know he's going to be 22 next year, and I'm not biting the bullet at pick 21, second, third baseman off the board for Elly. I think there's value later in drafts.
Here's the thing. I don't mean to hop back in, and then I want
No,
to
you're fine. Go ahead, brother.
end on Elly. I think if anything, we're going to see a season closer to what Bobby Witt did in his first full season, where like he had the 250 batting average, he had like the 20 home runs, and he had 30 stolen bases. I think obviously the stolen base will probably probably more of like 440, but I think the power number could be anywhere from 20 to 25, just because he looked like he slumped pretty heavy at certain points, and I think that's going to be the whole first half of the season. In all honesty, it's going to take him a little bit of time to adjust. And I could be putting my foot in my mouth or eating my words, first month of spring training and just like, okay, this kid's like the number one third baseman. But, if I'm looking at everything that I'm reacting to the end of the season and how Elly finished, I feel like, okay, seriously, like what is a serious stat line? I think the home runs could be down because he could be slumping so hard. And I think at some point he does put it together and he puts that monster stuff and he gets his batting average up at like exponentially where we start seeing the tick, but he only is able to cross that 25 home run threshold and get to a 250 batting average.
I just think the man hits the ball so hard, and in Great American Hitters Park, as you like to call it, or Great American Small Park, I think the home runs are going to ride there. I think we honestly see a 30-50 season easily when you're talking about home runs and steals for Elly De La Cruz. It's just the batting average that scares me, man. I don't know if he's going to be able to adjust at 22 years old and get that plate discipline where it needs to be. I don't foresee it. He's shown batting average in the minors, so we know it's there. We know he's capable of it, but big league pitching is just something that's absolutely a different monster. And before we move on and we talk about the rest of these great third basemen, a couple of ones you may have heard of, some of them you might not remember so much, we do have one more quick ad for you guys. All right, folks, and we're back. And I think we're going to move around, maybe cut a couple of guys that we originally planned. There's one guy I do want to talk about because I know Matt and I are going to disagree on this one. I know you guys love it when Matt and I disagree. Let's talk about Alex Bregman. I hate this guy. I feel like every time I've seen the Yankees play the Astros in Yankee Stadium, this guy hits a home run. Just love to boo him. But when it comes to fantasy, I have to be realistic. Alex Bregman's just good. He's just good. He's a solid third baseman. I feel like at this point in his career, we kind of know the baseline. We've kind of really seen it these past, 2-3 years with Alex Bregman. He's not the, 40 home run guy we saw in 2019, but I think Alex Bregman, if he plays a full season, we've seen it over the past 2 years. We're talking about 95, 100 runs, a bunch of doubles for your points leagues. Actually had 4 triples this past season. He's going to hit you around 25 homers. The RBIs are going to be great on that Astros team. He doesn't steal bases. And I think you see anywhere from a 260 to 270 batting average. Right now, Bregman is coming off the board as the 11th third baseman. I believe I have him ranked very similarly. I have as number 10 third baseman. I could see him moving down a spot or two or up not really up a spot or two, but down a spot or two. I just think Alex Bregman is just a nice guy. If you went super risky with your first few picks, you take Alex Bregman and you're like, okay, here's some stability in my baseball team. But that's my thoughts on Bregman. I just think regular guy, going to contribute to you. You don't really set it and forget it type of guy with Alex Bregman.
Yeah, I'm not mad. I actually agree. I have him at 10 as
Okay,
well.
we're right on board.
Yeah. So like
That's not what I expected.
nah. Like, I mean, here's the thing. Like at some point, like he's all reliable, and you kind of like, as much as I hate the person, I can't sit there and draft with my heart. I have to draft to win. So Alex Bregman can, bring the consistency out of the third base position for me and be really nice for your fantasy team. Because after 10, like, it starts getting a little muddy. It's not ugly. Like, there's names I'm willing to walk away with and feel comfortable about, especially since I'll be able to fill my lineup with other players. But if I could walk away with Alex Bregman at like the 10th third baseman, like that's where I'm just like, okay, I walked away really happy and I got a really nice pick out of that. So like Alex Bregman's a solid pick. So overall, it is what it is. I could like the stats and not like the player. But let's move on. Let's talk about a really high upside guy. And
Matt, real quick, can I throw one last thing out there about Bregman? Just real quick, guys. I know we don't always talk about points leagues, but he helps a lot in points leagues because he walks more than he strikes out. He's done it his whole career. Big 92 walks, 87 strikeouts last year. And he's always done that. But Matt, I'm sorry. Move on, bro. Let's keep pushing.
You're fine. All right. Let's talk about Junior Caminero. I had to snake him out because I know if you didn't, if I didn't beat you to the punch, you would. This kid, Tampa Bay Rays, got a really, 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 really small cup of coffee, like espresso shot from Starbucks cup of coffee, small. But in that time, he showed me a couple things, passed the eye test for me, essentially, where I watched a couple of his games where, okay, the kid just looks good. He just wasn't able to put it together, but 7 games and 34 at bats. Like, you can't really get mad at the kid with 4 runs, 8 hits out of the 34 at bats. Double, a bomb, 7 ribs, 2 walks to 8 strikeouts, and batted 235. Like, he was making contact. He just was getting a little unlucky and things like that. So, like, Caminero, if you don't know who he is, let me tell you about him real quick. In 2023, in the minors, he had 460 at bats, 85 runs, 18 doubles, 6 triples, repeat 6 triples, 31 bombs, 94 ribs, 5 stolen bases, 42 walks to 100 strikeouts. So not terrible, not killing you, and actually probably will, if the plate discipline kind of translates, not going to destroy you in points leagues. And the doubles and triples are probably going to be very rich for you in the points leagues. And batted a 324. Now, I don't think he's going to hit 324 in the bigs. Like, there's no way. But I think 385 is a realm of possibilities for a guy that, if he does put this together, and probably not this season, but next, more of like a 2025 play, he could be really rocking and rolling and be, a solid 4 category contributor where there's a lot of upside. And even this year, I don't know his ADP off the top, but if Dom can find out for me, I'm sure that he's going to be if he's got a roster spot next year, which that's the other question mark. He could be somebody that is a serious steal unless he really is a bright spot of spring training. And what is it? The ADP.
19th third baseman, pick 205.
Yeah, so that's like $3.99. Like, you're walking away with him in a 12-man, 14-man league, and this kid may be your starter after a month if he really just hits the ground running. Now, there's obviously an opportunity for him to show out in spring training, like I said, and be the difference maker and, fly up draft boards. But, we'll see. People were low key on a lot of guys, and a lot of people just zip past the radar, and then you end up getting a sneak. Caminero could be somebody that you're thinking of come May.
Yeah, Matt, you were right. If you didn't talk about Caminero, I was going to talk about him. The thing with Caminero, the best stat that I could give you for him this past season is that he was the youngest, well, not youngest player. I think he was one of the only, if not the only ever, to hit 30 plus home runs in the minors as a teenager. He hit 31 home runs in 117 games, 460 at-bats. Monstrous season for Caminero in the minors. And the crazy thing is, you think, this guy's probably gigantic. Yeah, he's 6'1", but he's 157. God forbid this kid, puts some muscle on. Talking about a guy who could hit 40 plus home runs and, contribute a little bit in the steals department. He's not slow by any means. The batting average has always been great in the minors. He has a good hit tool, plus hit, plus power. Not really known for his speed. I don't think he's going to steal a crazy amount of bases, but honestly, Caminero for next season, it's going to be interesting if Tampa says, comes out and says he's making the opening day roster and he's going to be, a part of that lineup every day. He's going to move from the 19th third baseman, I would assume, closer to the top 10 third baseman for Caminero, especially if he's going off in spring training. Right now, I have Caminero ranked as if he was getting the job. In my rankings, I have him 13 at third base. I just love the upside. He's going to really do, like I said, everything except for steal bases. That good Tampa lineup, the runs and RBIs should be great. Power is going to be very, very good. That's what he's really known for. And I think the batting average is legit. I can't give you an exact mark, but I wouldn't be shocked if the kid hit anywhere from like 280 to, even 300. I don't think is out of the question for Caminero. But, remember the name come draft time because, this is definitely not the last time you're going to hear of it. So familiarize yourself with Junior Caminero, third baseman for the Tampa Bay Rays. Let's sneak one last guy in here. I'm not sure which way I want to go. Let's go with another young blood who had a little cup of coffee. Let's talk about Noelvi Marte. Noelvi Marte came over to the Cincinnati Reds from the Seattle Mariners. Geez, why was I losing my thought there? I believe it was in the Luis Castillo trade, right? Noelvi Marte, another very, very good young player, right? 21 years old, had 35 games in the bigs, actually showed out, had 15 runs, 7 doubles, 3 homers, 15 RBIs, 6 steals, and a .316 batting average. Another young guy that's fast and has speed. If he's going to be in that lineup every day for that young Cincinnati Reds team, another guy, sky is kind of the limit for Noelvi Marte. Honestly, wouldn't be surprised. Another guy that could go 2020 potentially. I see it, very quick, very powerful. I have him ranked at 14, actually right behind Caminero at my third baseman rankings for next season. Once again, Matt and I's, if you're listening at this point, you're probably a fan, you probably already know Matt and I's rankings are based off head-to-head categories, leagues, 5x5. I like Noelvi. I'll be targeting him in, a lot of drafts that I do. Let's see what that early ADP is on Noelvi. Actually pretty high. 13th third baseman, pick 160. I think that's a decent spot to get him. Still leaves you a little bit of meat left on the bone with that ADP. Shows your third base kind of falls off at a certain point there as far as ADP goes. Matt, before we head out, any thoughts on Noelvi Marte?
Well, for starters, I feel like I need to move him up at that point. Sheesh.
You had him buried. It's all right. That's why we do this stuff.
No, I thought that I'm buried. I had him at like 16, but like,
No,
13 on the AVP, like sheesh. But I like him a lot for next year. And he has the upside of really showing out and putting the power together. I think at some point in his career, he might have a 30-30 season in him.
Yeah, he might.
I like him a lot. It's definitely not this year, but damn, for people to walk away with him as the 13th, third baseman, that's really making a statement. I feel like that's more of a ceiling play. If he's going around there, I'm probably not going to have a lot of him just based off of the fact that, around
that. But to pick 160 though, I think that's not bad. I know 13. You hear 13 third baseman definitely sounds high, but at pick 160,
160 though, bro. Like the pitchers that I can get around that time, man. Like
yeah.
me in the late rounds. Like I'm literally just scooping out awesome scratch offs that I'm just always hitting on, and that's kind of like my favorite round to round out my rotation, and then take the later guys that I kind of on the bat side of take a better higher upside take on him. Whereas Marte obviously is gonna be good, but I don't know, man. I feel like also too, he's not going to be at 160 come draft time. He's probably going to be more like 120. And
I think he'll move up. I think as everyone starts to deep dive and look and see, honestly, even with Noelvi Marte, his sprint speed is in the 91st percentile. So that's amazing. Hits the ball very hard too. I wouldn't, even for this year, wouldn't be shocked to see Noelvi Marte with a close to 2020 season. The batting average upside is there. He did hit 316 in 35 games in the bigs last season, so it's possible. I don't think he lives there, but 275 with decent counting stats at pick 160.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not mad at that, but again, if we had more time, I'd say rattle off a couple of arms that are going around in that that area, and I guarantee there's probably about 5 names we'd probably pick over Marte. But with that being said, man, let's get out of here.
Yeah, guys, that is all for today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Shout out to our everydayers and new listeners making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And as we're getting to the end of these positional ranks, guys, we got a lot more fun stuff this offseason. Believe it or not, we're only a couple months away from draft season, so make sure you stay locked in with us. But guys, until next time, see you.